Hello, you snackadoodles. Welcome back, Doodles. Coming across a good bunch of stories with contested opinions, I believe, today. Really curious what you think of them. Starting once again in a subreddit I'm finding a bit of fun in exploring. r/true unpopular opinion. What do you think? Are tall men fetishized by modern Western society? I am a 6'7" adult male. The number one thing I get asked is, do you play basketball? No, I do not play basketball. I am probably the world's most unathletic 6'7" guy. Yesterday, I was checking out at a gas station with my wife. The lady cashier complimented my wife's makeup and then proceeded to do the,
You're so tall. Do you play basketball?
routine to me while my wife was literally standing right next to me. We both immediately knew what she was doing. She complimented my wife so she could hit on me. My whole life has been like this. I cannot tell you the number of times I have been approached by women simply because of my height. I am as dumb as a bag of bricks and as pretty as a blobfish. These women approach me simply because I am tall. I also have a few tall male friends and siblings, and similar things happen to all of us. Our society has fetishized tall people. We are being associated with success, fame, glory, and money. Shorter guys don't stand a chance in a society that doesn't associate anything positive with short guys. It kinda sucks. Oh, thanks for looking out for us, man. I mean, I don't relate because I'm not a short guy, but I do have a short peen. I know I'm going to receive the endless stream of comments that claim being tall is life on easy mode. Now, while I partially agree, I also think the reason for this is because tall men have been fetishized. So, what do we think of this point of view?
You're not gonna find any sympathy on Reddit. Very strong, help, attractive women won't stop sucking my dick vibes.
Yeah, and I have to agree with this. A woman said, do you play basketball at a gas station?
In front of his wife? The gall! Basically tried to have smecks with him on the register. Oh God, no! No! Don't suck my dick! No! Ah!
OP to every woman he interacts with, 2023. I mean, taking the piss aside from how funny this does sound, DOP is trying to make a point as to how we, fetishizing? God, it's hard to say that word for some reason. We should be focusing on taking a person for who they are rather than what they look like. Kind of in the same way that there are a lot of men out there who fetishize young women. But hey, it's not like that has heavily distorted or taken over the minds of women everywhere growing up and desperately trying to achieve youth as much as possible. No, that's not a pandemic on a capitalistic scale. Don't be ridiculous. Because I personally agree with this little chain of arguments happening here. When we normalize what is one's fetish, we're basically encouraging everyone who doesn't fit that bubble to be considered wrong and not good enough. The fact we don't acknowledge that men who are insecure about their height literally have body dysmorphia, it is a bit astounding. Your dysmorphia doesn't just come from the amount of body fat on you, it also comes from, well, your body. But another makes a good comment here. Sure, your height's gonna get you that first date, but the second date? Nah. Physical attraction gets the attention, but it doesn't keep them around. You are the closest a man can ever feel to what it's like to be a beautiful woman. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people on RuPaul's Drag Race who I think would beg to differ. But another great counterpoint, you're an easy target for snipers. Midgets in a battlefield is the way to go. Which, I mean, okay, yeah, sure. When World War III comes, we'll just get all the midgets to fight for us, I suppose. Anyway, a lot of the comments are detracting from the whole point here. Do you think tall men are fetishized? Personally, I can see what they're getting at. It is one of those things that I feel is a bit hard to consider or accept as being legitimate because it's just such a norm. I mean, we argue that big boobs are fetishized. Really, big, prominent anything of our body is kind of fetishized if you think about it. So to say it's just women being attracted to what they're attracted to, well, okay, yeah. But I think it's valid to consider that a lot of tall men out there, it's like being a woman who feels like the only reason guys are approaching her is because she has badonky donks. Kinda can't help but feel for the kind of guys I'm extremely jealous of. Over to some particular stories now. Am I the a-hole for worrying about my fiance's friend who she used to have a crush on? I am a 29 male, and I've been with my fiance, 25 female, for 3 years. She has these friends, Tanya and Alan, 25 female and 26 male. They are currently dating and going to get married at the end of this year. A little bit of backstory here. My fiance, Tanya, and Alan were college friends. They belonged in the same friend group for 4 years. They were in the same major, and they also did their thesis together. So, they had been pretty close. But the thing is, my fiance confessed that she used to have a crush on Alan. She described that on the first day of their CS class that Alan sat next to her. From that moment, she wanted to be his girlfriend. But Alan was way more interested in her friend Tanya. Tanya knew about my fiance's crush on Alan. Despite that, she started dating him. Now, of course, back then, my fiance was hurt, but she eventually forgave Tanya and Alan. She also said that she got over her crush. She realized Alan and her wouldn't be good together at all because they have way too many differences, but they stayed as their friends. They are not that close. After college, my fiancée lost touch with most of her college friends. She is only friends with girls who she went to high school with. I don't hear Tanya and Alan's name from her mouth that much. She told me she had a crush on Alan, but she got over it within 6 months because Alan once made a sexist joke in presence of her, and she took off her rose-tinted glasses since then. And the only reason she is still friends with Tanya is because she holds no grudge against her. In fact, I remember she told me that she was only cordial with them till now because they did thesis together and worked on 2 different papers while they were students. I saw no animosity between Tanya and her. I have never had a hint of suspicion that my fiancé is doing something with Alan, but I still feel uncomfortable knowing my fiancé is still friends with someone she used to have a massive crush on. But I cannot help but feel like a total a-hole if I tell her that she shouldn't meet Alan and Tanya. Like, am I wrong? Is it something I should be worried about? So I feel it's a bit convoluted in the messaging, but essentially, shortly after letting Opie know she's had a crush on her male friend, she admitted that the entire time that he was dating the best friend of hers, she actually wasn't cool with it at all and was actually kind of jealous and upset about it, which seems to have triggered him to think, well, okay, is she still upset about it? Have I just been settled with? Am I possibly just with her because she wants to try and make Alan a bit jealous? I mean, let's be honest, there's been a few stories where it has been that case. Now, there wasn't much engagement from the comments at the time, but it was only a few days later when they came back with an update that things became really interesting. Returning with a new title, is my fiancé a manipulative liar or am I overreacting? Summarizing the previous post, saying fiancé had a crush on Alan and Tanya knew, Tanya and Alan started dating, apparently after the fiancé had made it known to Alan that she was interested too. Ouch, extra stab. But fiancé assures that she doesn't have feelings for Alan because she thinks they are incompatible anyway. So update from that post. I talked to my fiancé about my insecurities. She laughed and said I have nothing to worry about. I was relieved. Then she went on to backbiting her friend Tanya, saying she was only friends with Tanya and Alan because they both had potential that can boost her chances of publishing a research paper. Let me explain. My fiancé is from a computer science background. She was a friend and batchmate with Tanya and Alan. Alan is a really good coder. He has really good skills in coding, which can be helpful for anyone doing a group project with him. Tanya was good with research stuff and front-end development. My fiancée was also very good on her own, but they were sort of a pro at what they do. She knew that friendship with Tanya and Alan would be beneficial during her thesis because they could submit their research paper in an international conference. It is a huge deal if someone has a few researchers in their name. So, my fiancée set aside her ego and pretended to be friends with Alan and Tanya so they can form a thesis group. And she was right. Their paper got published in 2 separate conferences. Not only that they did almost every project together, so she got full marks on her projects that boosted her GPA. She confessed that she never considered Tanya and Alan her best friends. She only pretended to be their friends just for those benefits. But in reality, she hates Tanya because at one point, she tried to sabotage her grade. She has no proof that Tanya did it, but she is 100% sure it was her. She also said Tanya was a snake and Alan is a misogynist frick boy. If it wasn't for the academic boost, she would never be friends with them. She only talks to them out of formality. So I am starting to wonder if that makes her a manipulative liar, because when she is with Tanya and Alan, she pretends that they are best friends and they love each other. There is no animosity, but when she is alone, she rolls her eyes each time Tanya comes up. I find like she is two-faced with those people. I did address this. She told me I wouldn't understand. In a real world, you have to pretend to like people if you want to get ahead. Is this a red flag? So thoughts upon the second update say, well, both my husband and I are still friends with people we used to have huge crushes on in college, and it's fine. But however, I actually hate these people, but I pretend to be their friend for my personal benefit is a way bigger problem, and I'm glad he is starting to realize that. Yeah, and it's not even a workplace environment where Opie's girlfriend has no choice but to work with them. It sounds like this was a conscious decision, and if I were the actual OP, I'd be pretty curious what she was saying behind my back. But on the other end of things, a lot of people are interpreting this as, OP, are you just trying to make excuses to think that your partner is untrustworthy and you should break up with them? Like, after assuring you that she's not into Alan anymore, and it was just like an offhand crush at the time, she also says that, oh, well, yeah, I just use them for networking now. I'm not actually that fond of them.
Well, oh god, she's a manipulative liar then.
In fact, there are so many comments pointing out that this is kind of what I had to do in my life as well. Working with people where if I don't like you personally, then I don't like you professionally either. You had to kind of suck up to people you thought were actual a-holes just so you could advance further in your career. Which, yeah, could come across as a bit manipulative, I suppose, but it's also about being professional. Is it nice to kind of lie to these people? No, but it's not like you're being mean either. Was it professionally handled? Yes. I mean, even the boyfriend didn't know her feelings until he pushed her about it. Would the majority of us do something similar? Yes, as that is professional relationship handling. After all, as another comment says here, it's one thing to work with people in a friendly manner and socially, even though you don't actually really like or care for them. It's another when you just go around spreading rumors and talking behind their back. Like, let's remember, she only started talking about this stuff because the boyfriend was constantly asking for it. He was prying for more information, so she's kind of like, you know what, look, here's the gist. I don't care for them. But end of the day, where do you stand more? Because as this comment summarizes, watching your partner use people might make you wonder about their moral substance. A good question, or a good reason to ask these questions. Also, watching your partner seem genuinely warm and close to people who they secretly don't feel warm and close to might make you wonder if they're genuinely warm and close with you. Also, a good reason to ask questions. End of the day, it does seem like his hesitancy about this relationship is pretty sound, but I leave that opinion up to you. Do you think he's going way too far with all this, or do you think he's just kind of learned something new about his partner that is valid to make you reconsider the relationship? Now, this next one dropped off into Am I the Devil, which is usually notorious for calling out clearly a-hole situations. But this one actually left a lot of comments thinking that, you know what, maybe she actually didn't do anything wrong. And considering she's apparently a cheater, that, yeah, what kind of hell was she in where that was considered justifiable? I divorced my husband because of his addiction, and now, 2 years on, I feel like I made a mistake. During the pandemic, my husband became addicted to weed. We both smoked every now and then before, like once a month maybe, or thereabouts. When the lockdowns hit, that escalated for him though, as he started smoking daily, and then never really scaled it back once things calmed down. Eventually, it was pretty much all he did. He tried quitting a few times, and I encouraged him, but he always fell back. It started eating away at our relationship as he never wanted to do anything with me. He would occasionally join me when we visited friends, but would always find an excuse to leave early so he could go home and smoke. Most of his friends are smokers too, so when he hung out with them, they would smoke constantly. I'm not proud of it. But during this rough period, I met someone else. We started chatting at a bar and he made me feel seen and gave me what my husband wouldn't. It eventually developed into real feelings, and that, plus the desperation of helplessly seeing my husband in his zombie state, made me want to get a divorce. I still loved my husband, but I couldn't live with him. He was obviously devastated when I told him, and quit smoking cold turkey that same day. He threw out all his pipes and all the weed he still had, but I didn't think he would stick to it. I'd seen it all before. Before long, the divorce went through and I got my own apartment. I didn't stay there for long. As before, I moved in with my new partner. Since my ex and me share a lot of friends and still live near each other, we've kept in touch, and to my amazement, he has stayed clean from weed. I feel like I'm watching him blossom again, and I can't help but feel like I made a mistake in leaving him. He's pursuing his hobbies again, he's traveling and visiting friends, just going back to the same fun, adventurous person he was before his addiction. I love my new partner, but I constantly feel guilty because I still have feelings for my ex-husband too. I was with my ex for over 10 years, and there's no one in the world who knows me better than him. And when he's functioning, he's the kindest, most loving man I've ever met. Recently, I was at a party where my ex-husband was as well. He and my new partner are cordial, but don't really like to interact.
which I understand. At one point during the evening, I ended up alone with my ex on a balcony, where he told me he misses me every day. I almost broke down in tears right there, and I wanted so bad to tell him I miss him too, but I held it back. I don't want to make another mistake by leaving my new partner for something that I might be looking at with rose-tinted glasses. I just feel so lost, and I don't know what to do. I hate hurting people, but now I feel like I've put myself in a position where no matter what I do, I will hurt someone. I regret leaving my ex, but I'm also happy I've met my new partner. I really do feel happy with him, even though I've put my ex on a retroactive pedestal. It feels so complicated and like it's eating me up inside every day.
A pretty tragic tale of regret. Let's see what the comments think.
OP getting cooked, bro. I'm a foul. As soon as I read about the bar, I was done with her.
So your hubby stayed home smoking weed while you went to bars and sucked dick. Got it. Yeah, let's not pretend she left him for an addiction. You met someone new and exciting, thought the grass was greener, and told people it was because he smoked too much weed while you were at a bar meeting new men. If you really thought he had an addiction, you would have tried to help him, as that's what wives do. Stop blaming my man's love of weed for the divorce when it was you being a cad. So not many people in her corner. This constant accusation that she wasn't even trying to help him at his worst. She was just annoyed that he wasn't the fun guy he used to be and, just wanted to chase that instead of working on the thing you've been working with for the last 10 years. But there are some people considerate of this situation. Like, yes, at first a spouse should, and OP did actually try to help him, which I'm surprised no one's really pointing out. Like, this literally in the first paragraph. Of course, how much of that was her actually helping and how much of that was just her telling him to stop? There's a difference between helping and just pressuring someone to stop doing something because you find it annoying. Anyway, back to this comment. My ex got addicted to pot and became a chain smoker, smoking from dawn to dusk. It changed him and he became horrible to me. Yes, pot isn't physically addictive, but neither is gambling. Addictions can break a relationship and make one partner horrible to the other. You should not stay with someone who refuses to meet your needs. Of course, all that said, you shouldn't have cheated. If a relationship fails, it's important to express that that was your duty. But instead of breaking up with him first, you decided to cheat, have a backup to fall into. And, well, that's a choice. It's a choice that puts a nail in your relationship's coffin. And again, other people in the actual Am I the Devil subreddit seem to have far more sympathy towards the situation, pointing out things that, okay, yeah, she screwed up by cheating, but she came clean, got a divorce, moved on with her life, which is kind of the only reasonable thing to do when you're unhappy enough to have cheated. She's also keeping her sadness about missing her ex to herself instead of blowing up her life and potentially his again when given the opportunity. And as others point out, if you read back on the story, while maybe she's just hiding the extra details to make herself come across more innocent, she never fully cheated. She just said she developed feelings for someone else and then ended her relationship accordingly. But of course, this starts a whole argument as to what are the specifics versus what is us just making assumptions on things. Are we assuming she was just being innocently falling for someone else, or was she, again, just trying to hide the dirty details of her behavior? Regardless, I do kind of see their point here, where if you think about it, she is taking the most mature and respectful actions here. And just going to end on this lovely comment. So someone's compiled a lot of what the OP was responding to, where one man confidently says, I was addicted to heroin and meth. I was sober when I met my wife, but circumstances led to a relapse while we were together and she was pregnant. She had every right to leave me, but she stuck by my side, kicked my ass in gear, and helped me get sober. It's been years now without even a craving. That's what a wife does. For better or worse, sickness and in health. Your husband needed your help, and you went to bars to cheat on him emotionally at best. Leave him be. Let him move on and find someone worth his while. I did try to help him, all the time. You say that's what a wife does, but let me ask you this. When he completely ignored me, or when you were doing heroin while your wife was pregnant, is that what a husband does? Oh boy. Overall, where do you stand though? Do you think she's valid to have this feeling of regret and maybe, if possible, should be allowed to pursue these requited feelings? Or is this a situation where a man's dumped their partner because she's too fat and now that she's like gone to the gym and is single again, he's suddenly like, oh, I want her back now. Let me know what you think. Now over to a story in True Off My Chest again, where the top comment is a very comforting, Christ, this is heartbreaking. There really is no good answer here. So, what's this lovely tale? I'm leaving my disabled boyfriend who saved my life at the cost of his own. 3 years ago, my boyfriend and I were walking down a wet and busy road on holiday in Thailand when a car swerved at a violent speed, trying to avoid a stupid biker stopping on his phone in the treacherous weather that it was. My boyfriend, being the quick-thinking man he is, saw my frozen, terrified body in the direct vicinity of the moving car, and he jumped in front of me, pushing me away from the impact at the same time. I was left with some nasty grazes, but other than that, I was fine. My boyfriend was left paralyzed from the waist down. He now lives life in his wheelchair. He has been diagnosed with PTSD from the accident and often has flashbacks in which he'll scream and sweat. He is distant and cold. His mental health is, to put it lightly, very bad. He spends most of his time on his PlayStation, and we haven't been physically intimate for months. If he's not playing games, he'll be at the pub with his mates. He does cocaine with them. He says he can't enjoy intimacy anymore. He says he doesn't enjoy it at all with being the way he is. I've tried to tell him I think still that he's gorgeous and no attraction is lost. He doesn't believe me. He has gained about 4 stone and finds no value in healthy life choices anymore. I feel like I'm living with my best friend who I'm in love with, but like I'm in some sort of friend zone. He says I'm being paranoid. It's him, not me. He tells me he loves me. Now, he has tried therapy. He has made an attempt to not do cocaine on the weekends. He doesn't want to do it. I have tried to encourage him to do both many times, and he says he doesn't resent me. All of my friends talk about how lucky I am and how he loves me so much, but I think that's screwed up because they have no idea what it's like to be in a partnership with someone who is paralyzed. My feelings are just as strong for him as they are when I fell in love with him, but I can't do it anymore. I am exhausted. I will forever be known as the woman who left her disabled boyfriend after he saved her life at the cost of his own. And you know a post is bad when the moderators have to resort to locking the post itself because people just seem to can't help but insult or criticize this woman. Some people point out that as physically disabled people themselves, they'd be heartbroken if their girlfriend left them because of their disability. Though not saying it's wrong, you live your life and your decisions how you want to, but just know that, yeah, that's gonna hurt. But to argue against that, she is not leaving him because of his disability. He does cocaine, has given up on life, and has stopped being intimate with her. Any of those reasons are valid. Some even argue that, okay, he occasionally does cokes with friends. That doesn't really make him an addiction. No more than someone who occasionally has drinks on the weekend with mates makes them an alcoholic. It's one thing if he's like the guy from the other story who was smoking weed at almost every single moment he could, but this guy's just having it as like a leisurely activity, so I can understand that point. And he's miserable because he probably regrets saving you because he knows you probably look at him like he's a monster. Though again, that can be countered by the fact she's assuring him that she's into him and wants to be intimate, etc. Like, she does still love him. But yeah, a lot of shaming on the OP here. After all, he saved your life and you're going to abandon him at the time he's circling the drain? Oh, you haven't gotten laid in a while, so poor you. A more constructive opinion on that side though. Kind of talking about how you need to stop making such ultimatums that just fall on your face. As in, are you encouraging him to go to therapy by just consistently bringing it up? Or are you actively like booking it yourself because he's honestly clearly in a state where he needs someone to be his secretary of sorts? As tedious as that sounds, I mean, again, let's be fair. PTSD guy who saved your life. Heavy bouts of depression. He most likely feels like he is just worthless to you, so you kind of got to put in a bit of extra effort yourself than you might think is justified. But anyway, yeah, after you've done this sort of stuff that isn't anything less than just saying, hey, you should do stuff. Like, yeah, if nothing changes after a few months, even a year, then okay, yes, he's hopeless. He's definitely hopeless. Because after all, you were hopeless for a moment too, however brief, and he made what could have been the ultimate sacrifice. You should be returning the favor in some reasonable proportion. Now, in OP's defense, there's a lot of people pointing out the very clear fact that you're not leaving him because he is disabled, you're leaving him because he has given up on life. That's not fair to you. You have communicated to him that he needs to stop the drugs and he needs therapy. He refuses. Now you leave. Not your fault at all. It's his fault for refusing to better himself. So where does this leave the OP? And a last little bit of information, with someone asking, well, why don't you compromise where you communicate that this is where your head is at with the thought that maybe you should leave? To which the OP has responded. Apparently she's given 2 ultimatums already. The first time, nothing changed apart from what feels like false compliments and trips to his parents. At the time, she was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, at least he's trying. Instead, he just went back to how he was before. I then left him for 2 weeks as a last ultimatum to show him what it would be like without me. I came back to a house with empty beer cans all over the kitchen, evidence of drug use, and 2 of his friends sprawled out across the sofa. One day he said, "I can't protect you anymore." I think he feels emasculated and unsure as to how to navigate the relationship. One of his favorite things to do was skate. His life has changed dramatically. I think he's fallen out of love with life and ultimately out of love with me too. And so I think this is where people are coming from with the idea that she's just throwing things at him that have no actual benefit or help. Like, to theoretically be in his situation, all I'd be hearing from these moments is that my partner doesn't love me anymore and she wants to leave. She's just finding it too awkward to leave out of social shame. Like, it's not that she is struggling to leave me. She's just struggling with the consequences of leaving me. And add on to that the feeling that I am incapable of doing what men are groomed to believe is their only purpose in life, to be that, expendable collateral for the safety of others. Like, yeah, I can understand why this man is actually just feeling super depressed. And also makes sense as to why people are sort of accusing the OP of just wanting approval from others to ditch him rather than, advice on what to do about this situation. But thankfully, a lot of comments seem to offer a bit of a guiding light that I really hope the OP takes. Ultimately saying in all these comments that this guy needs a mentor, some sort of rehab center to help him, because so far it seems like the only rehab and assistance he's gotten is from a girlfriend who I very much doubt has successfully, hidden just how exhausted she is of him. Anyway, let me know what you think about this below. Do you think she's valid to leave, or do you think she's just given up before she's actually tried? Anyway, I leave that to you, and until next time, love your face, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.